Canners, welcome back to Stacey Can Can. Today I am making pickle powder. I know it sounds a little crazy, but my family happens to really enjoy pickle flavored chips and pickles in general. So I am making a pickle powder because I do have some leftover pickles that when we ferment our pickles, we don't, I don't can them. We just keep them as refrigerator pickles. That's what the family likes the best. So I'm using some that have gotten just a little bit too soft that we're going to dehydrate for that today. I'm just going to taste test it as per requested by the family. Here's some store-bought ones that are pickle chips that I'm going to use. And but for these, you also need a mandolin. So you can either buy them in the chips, or you can buy them in strips, or you can buy them whole and cut them up yourselves. But you do want them kind of thin, about as thin as the store-bought slices and pickle chip sizes too, thickness-wise, because we are dehydrating. So the ingredients you need is about a pound of pickles, which that's about what fits in the dehydrator. You do need some paper towels because after we do a mandolin too of some sort, something to slice. You can use a knife, but to get an even consistency, I am going to use my grater here just to grate them up. If you have a mandolin, you can use that too. And also some paper towels, because you do need to blot them a little bit before putting them in the dehydrator. You don't have to, but I advise that you do. It's just going to take some of that moisture out and make it a little bit easier for everything to dehydrate. So that is how we prep for making pickle powder. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm slicing the pickles to make sure we've got kind of an even thickness to dehydrate. When we're done, I'm just going to lay them all out on a paper towel here, taking that extra layer of water and liquid out of the pickle, and just put a paper towel over the top and give it a nice little pat. We're just making sure that as much water as we can get out of them as possible. And after you've blotted them dry, you'll notice that I'm laying these on the tray, but I'm trying to make sure that you don't have them touching. You want to keep them as separate as possible, just a little bit of space. You don't need a whole bunch of space. And voila. And we keep going until we've got the trays filled. Just doing the same thing with the store-bought ones as I did with the fresh ones, my homemade ones. We're just gonna place these out on the paper towel and blot them before putting them on the rack. Got the pickle chips on here. I'm gonna put the paper towel on it, and I'm just blotting. Make sure to put the chips on the rack, as I mentioned before, where they're not touching and they're not overlapping. So we got the store-bought, 2 trays of the store-bought chips, pickle chips, and 2 trays of my homemade pickle chips. I'm gonna put them right here on stack them on top. This is how this dehydrator works. I only have one setting on this one, and it goes anywhere between 130 and 135 degrees, which is about where you need to be for pickle chips. There are other dehydrators out there that have varying temperatures, but 135 is all you need for this. So we're gonna turn it on and check them after, it's about 8 to 10 hours. So we'll give them a check about 8 hours. Kind of hard to believe that those 2 trays made this much pickle powder, but that's what it did. They're very intense if you use it, and salty. So if you were to sprinkle it on, say, popcorn or on a baked potato or what have you, just use just a very little bit, and you don't need salt, or at least sprinkle it on there and then do a taste test. Like I would use a half a teaspoon at first. Even if you're gonna put some on a baked potato, I would use about 1/4 of a teaspoon, if that, on there. You just a light dusting, because they're very, very intense flavors of pickles. So they turned out quite well, and quite delicious actually, but again, in moderation. So thank you so much for joining me today. Please like and subscribe the page below, and the recipe is below, as well as the links for the TikTok version and also Washington State University's Extension Office instructions are there as well. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, feedback, concerns, by all means, you can reach out to me. I'm on Facebook at Stacey CAN CAN, Instagram and TikTok at Stacey CAN CAN. My website is www.staceycancan.com, and my email is info@staceycancan.com. Thanks so much again for joining me today, and until next time, happy canning.